Reminds me of Noel Whelan.
Reminds me of Tony Yeboah.
Oh, right,
that one, yeah.
Right.
But listen, you're looking lovely in it.
Mine's better than yours.
All right, don't be like that. We were given a selection of jumpers. Actually, these are all available, of course, in the store. You picked first.
Yeah.
I picked second, and the one that's left over is this one here. Right, this is a lovely little number, and I'm thinking today. Hold this up. Here we go. It's a sleeveless number. I'm thinking, Bridgie, if Leeds win today, post match.
Yeah.
You're in this with your guns out.
You're putting me on the spot.
You're in this with your guns out. What we
right.
saying?
If it's 3-0 or more, deal. There you go.
Well, no, hold on a second. 3-0 feels like a lot. I just think if Leeds win.
No, 3-0 or more.
I think if Leeds win.
3-0 or more.
If Leeds win today.
All right.
Bridges in the tank top with his guns out. And you would agree eventually. We agreed off air to 3-0. I just changed the rules slightly there at the start of it. Okay, let's get stuck into it today because Leeds are back at home, of course, after that draw away at Preston. 7 points in the last week. And now back at home against a team who we know are struggling. They've got a managerial change as well.
Yeah.
Gary Rowett has been announced as their new manager, but he'll be sitting in the stands watching today. Officially kind of takes over tomorrow.
Tell you what, a very good appointment for Oxford, by the way. I'm a big fan of Gary's. I'm delighted that he's not in the dressing room, giving his advice. The players haven't seen him. He's come and you've just said he's going to be observing from the stands. For me, that puts the players on notice of Oxford. No doubt about it, but he hasn't been able to meet the players and get his words of wisdom across. So it's one of them. Always be worried about a team that have just got a new manager, even the form and the horrendous state that Oxford have been in this season. So that's a good appointment for them. Let's hope we send them back Christmas with 0 points. Yeah,
because of course on paper, I mean, this one looks like a home win, doesn't it? With Leeds' form at home being as it is, Oxford yet to win away on the road and being where they are. But, teams at some point start scrapping, don't they? And it might be. It's also very blustery. It's worth mentioning the weather out there very blustery today. The ball's going to be moving all over the place. Studio. Yeah, it's a cold one.
Very windy, but it does play its part. And again, we as Leeds United like to play that possession-based game. We like to play the passes on the floor, but also we've got that switch of play. Tanaka's been outstanding this season doing that with the switch of play. Rothwell. So that's going to impact the way we play, and like you say, it favours Oxford. If they know it's going to be like a huge blustery day out there, you never know what's going to happen, and the goalkeepers have got to be very, very alert for days like this.
Let's kick off with the team news today, because you saw him leading the team in the club captain Ethan Ampadu starts today in central defence alongside Joe Rodon. Pascal Strike hasn't made it in terms of full fitness. Daniel Farke said he was 50-50. He is on the bench. Max Weber hasn't made it. He called them both 50-50s, so he's not on the bench today. The other change is Manuel Solomon starts ahead of Willie Nonto. But let's just go back to that Ethan Ampadu news, because he's been probably sat there on the bench just itching to get going. He's made appearances in the last couple of games, but he starts today in the heart of that defence. He is the club's leader. How big a moment is that for him?
Yeah, it's incredible when you think about he was a mainstay, he was the captain. Well, he still is the captain, but you thought he's going to play every week. Obviously, Rothwell and Tanaka have come in, and they've been so good in that midfield, and it's been very hard to see Ethan get in after his injury. But I'm delighted that he is. I know one player's loss is another, but he's been itching at the bit. He is a leader. I think he's colossal, whether he plays midfield or centre half. And if you remember that run last season we had, I think it was 9 clean sheets in a row. He was playing at the heart of defence alongside Rodon. So they had a good understanding straight away when it was disjointed. So he'll be delighted he's back in the starting lineup. And again, that man there, Daniel Farke, he's made a big decision saying, Nonto, you're out, Solomon, you're back in. And it's good. Again, I say it's competition for places. It's a healthy competition in Solomon, somebody that you can always rely on as well, because he terrorises defences. And if Willie's upset that he's not involved, you've got somebody that can come on and make an impact.
Yeah, we saw Daniel Farke coming in there. We mentioned how blustery it is. Always evident. You just look at Daniel Farke's hair and you can get the wind gauge. So it was all over the place there. You can see it is really windy out there today. And it's going to be big. And in terms of that central defensive partnership in particular, balls that are going to be moving around in the air. If Oxford sort of start playing in the way we have seen teams with a low block and actually punting it forward when they get opportunities, it is going to be moving around a bit for the central defenders. They're going to need to be switched on. Yeah,
I like to say the wind plays a massive impact, whether you're a striker, midfielder, defender, goalkeeper mainly as well. Obviously the ball, the flight when it's coming into the penalty area, you've got to judge that well. So it's going to play an impact today, and it's whoever can handle that. If we can't allow that to distract us away from our game plan. That's what Daniel Farke will be saying there. I know you're saying his hair's blown everywhere, and you can see that he'll be in there just saying, lads, we've got to concentrate on our play and get the ball into the wide areas, because I think that's where we can hurt them, in the wide areas with our wingers, and Solomon being one of the main men that can do that.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll hear from Manor Solomon in just a moment. Just to mention, this is the start of a really busy period. Now, once you get to that pre-Christmas game, and then we've got you're into Boxing Day, the one after that, then it's New Year's Day, and then through to the FA Cup. It's a really important stretch here. This next 3, 4, 5 games for Leeds is going to, go a long way to determining how this can pan out for us.
Huge period. I mean, the home form we've talked about at Elland Road, where magnificent. It's the 2 away games over the Christmas period. We're back here on New Year's Day. If we can get the 7 points, if not maximize 9 points from today in the next 2 away games, we're in a very, very good, healthy position, Rich, because they come thick and fast, the games. It's all about keeping the squad fit, keeping them healthy, and wrapping them in cotton wool, not in wrapping paper. I say, hey, keeping everybody ready to go. And I think when we're back here for the Blackburn game on New Year's Day in 2025, we're going to have an indication of where these last 3 matches have been. But it's got to start at 3 points against Oxford today.
Yeah, which we'll see you wrapped in this lovely tank top. Can't wait. Okay, let's get some thoughts from ahead of the game from one of the starting 11 today. He's in for Willie Nonso. Starting is Manor Solomon. Here's his thoughts ahead of today's game against Oxford.
Well, Manor, back at Elland Road. This looks like an important game this afternoon.
Yeah, of course, it's an important game today. We're going to play in front of our fans. We know we need to get the job done to take the 3 points today. And we know we need to deliver a good performance, especially after last week, and to take the 3 points.
They've changed their manager since the last time they played. Does that make preparation for the game a little bit more complicated?
Yeah, we've heard about this. We've talked about it. We don't know how it's going to affect how they will line up today or how they're going to play today. So I think we're ready for all the scenarios. And as I said, we just need to get the 3 points today to deliver a good performance. And yeah, that's it.
And the home form has been really good, so you want to keep that run going in this final home game of the year.
Yeah, it's a final home game of the year today. So far we've had so many good games here. We have a good streak of wins at home. So we want to continue this way. We want to get the 3 points. We want to deliver a good performance, and hopefully we'll continue today.
Yeah, and as we know, that home form is excellent. Hoping to continue that today. Is the away form that hasn't been quite up to that same standard, but 7 points in a week overall on reflection, even if the Preston game wasn't the win that we'd hoped for, is a pretty good return, having gone to Deepdale.
Yeah, it is, and when you consider the manner in which we got the point from the game, I think Daniel Farke alluded, we've got to be more clinical on a more regular basis and find the back of the net because of the chances that we are creating. But Preston put up the way that they did, the counter-attack. I think they learnt a lot from Burnley when they scored a counter-attacking goal against us. And I just think it was that there was a lot that could have impacted this to stop it from its source. But I mean, you can't take anything away from that pass across to catch out a defensive line like that, to be able to see it, for one to execute it, and then obviously for the finish for Potts when he takes it first time. I think, Melly will look back at that and think, well, I've got a cross, got my hands to it, but he's scrambling from one side of his goal to the other. So I still say that there's a lot of moments. I think Dom Matthew was in the studio saying it's got to have been stopped before the source, because you can see the numbers piling forward. This is normally what we do to teams, Rich, when we get overloads in the final third. But take nothing away from that, and that was their game plan. And then they've asked the question back, saying, are we going to allow Leeds back into this game? We're going to put our blocks up, we're going to be defensive and see what you can do. And I'm absolutely delighted for the goal scorer that came on and got the goal.
Obviously it's a credit in the end as an own goal, but Mateo Joseph's done everything he possibly can in terms of getting across the player, putting the pressure on, and we spoke to him afterwards, sort of thought, have I got a little touch on this? But in the end, when you see the final replay, it's come off the defender.
I'm still giving it.
Well, of course you are.
Of course, I'm the strikers union. We are sticking together. Mateo Joseph. It was the run across the defender. I loved it. He anticipated what DJ was going to do when he got the ball, and it comes out in a wide position. I just love how he gets himself away from goal, and then he sees the pocket of space there, and when Dan puts it across, there's nothing better getting in front of the defender. And what he does, he actually, it's an own goal, but to actually get in front, you put the defender off, he's blindsided from where the ball is because of your body position. And we are taught that as strikers from such a young age, whether it's academy level through to senior level, you must make runs in front of the defenders because it causes havoc. So fair play to him, he got his chance, he came on and got the result. That can turn out to be a huge point.
You have to take positives as well, don't you? And Daniel Farke did after the game. Yes, it's not the 3 points, but the manner which they kept going. In fact, Leeds have scored more goals in the 90th minute plus than any other team in the Championship this year. I think it's up to 6
plus.
now.
That's a huge plus. Concentration levels, fitness levels, they all come into account when you have that statement and stats there. And game changers from the bench.
And from a squad point of view, does that give players belief that actually, whatever happens, if it doesn't quite go our way, we're still going to get the chance, we're still going to get ourselves back in there?
Yeah, always. It's something where I've played in teams in the past where you've known if you go 1 down, 2 down, you're not getting back in the games because you haven't had that belief and that you're on a slump. This team and this confidence, when you've got players that make that impact, when you've got the style of play that we have, you're always in a game, and that's a huge thing. And I see that running throughout this team, and it's a sign of champions. That's what champion teams do. Champions winning teams do never say die attitude, and they're relentless.
But we know this stat about when Leeds score first. It's a ridiculous percentage that they go on and then win the game, or they certainly don't lose the games under Daniel Farke. That stat is incredible. 6 of the last 7 away games we've conceded first. How do they go about making sure that doesn't happen? We've got these away games coming, and I know in some ways
Rich,
a simple question.
Today. I don't want to put it down on it.
Let me ask you the question, Mike, because Daniel Farke said that he was disappointed that they started slowly in that game.
Yeah.
With the 2 games coming away from home, how do they prevent that from happening again? How do they get themselves on the front foot away from home?
We take all of Elland Road, all the fans with us. We just take the stadium down there, we fill it, and we feel like it's home. It's a tough one, and I like I say, I don't know what is said before the games at home. We don't get to see the luxury of what is said from the away, but you'll be saying the same message. You must start well. It's having that clean sheet mentality. We've got to make sure we are switched on, and the lads again have got to look at their attitude and their application before the games. What do you do when you're playing at home, and what are you doing when we're travelling and all the rest of it? So there's a lot of, I'm sure they're taking into every possible percentage of what goes on to make sure that away standard is trying to replicate what it does here, because we can't afford to go goals behind.
Yeah, well, we've certainly got 36 and a bit thousand Leeds fans ready to go in blustery Beeston today. And up on the gantry with your commentary from 3 o'clock will be Tony DeRigo alongside Brynlaw. Let's get their thoughts ahead of today's Sky Bet Championship match.
Well, here in the tunnel, it's all calm. Out on the pitch, it's pretty windy. That may impact the way the game plays out. We'll talk about the team first. A couple of changes to talk about there, Tony.
Yes, Ampadu comes back in, so good to see him back. Pascal Strout clearly isn't 100% fit, so he's on the bench. And Manor Solomon comes in. I thought he had a really good 20-minute cameo at the end of the Preston game, so he's back in from the start.
I mean, the object of the exercise, no matter what the starting 11, is exactly the same, isn't it?
To get the job done. Yeah, absolutely. It's a home game. We're flying at home. We're strong. A lot of games, short space of time. Rotate, use the squad, and make sure that if there is 1 or 2 injuries, just to not keep playing those players and give them a bit of a rest here and there. And we've got the squad to do that.
They'll have been preparing for one Oxford United side up until a couple of days ago, and then they've decided to change their manager. Gary Rowett comes in. Does that put all those plans out the window?
To a point it does. It's difficult. I think you can only look at the previous game, so no doubt Daniel Farke will have done that and will have tactics to combat that. There might be 1 or 2 new things, but you also have to remember why there's a new manager there, in that they haven't been very good and they're low down in the table. They've just been promoted, so it's a real struggle for them. They'll be coming here not relishing the occasion, so we're going to make sure we start quickly, make it really difficult for them, and let's see how they get on. Ask them a few questions.
The conditions I've just mentioned, it is pretty windy out there, to say the least. How does that impact?
It's a leveller, unfortunately. I think the worst thing to play in for a player is the wind. I don't mind a bit of rain, wet, that's okay, but that real strong wind. So hopefully it calms down a little bit, and obviously we're in the middle of the stadium. The pitch is, hopefully that is okay and shields it a bit, but there's no doubt that it is a leveller. We have to be brave, get it down on the ground, and try and keep it under the wind.
So there you go. Cope with the conditions and get the job done. That's the message from down here in the tunnel.
Yeah, Bryn and Tony, as always, we'll bring you your commentary from 3 o'clock today. Elland Road is filling. It's got the Christmas vibes. The truth is, everyone's coming here expecting a Leeds win today, given the form of both teams and Oxford not having won away from home. But does that change in manager just add that little bit of you know, sometimes with teams you need a bit of a circuit breaker, don't you? This might be it for them. They'll certainly know that the new manager is watching on, albeit Craig Short, the coach at the moment, is taking charge today. But they'll know that sat up there in the West Stand is the new gaffer, and they're going to want to be in his team. Yeah,
you're always on high alert when somebody new comes into the club environment, and you want to perform for that manager. You want to say, you want to keep your place in the team, and they've got a lot to do, Oxford, because obviously you said away from home, no wins this season. On paper, this is, I think, across the board, it's everybody's saying it's a home win for Leeds United. Everybody that looks at the lineup, the team sheet, and sees the fixture, only thinking one way. That's not how the Championship works. And like you say, the managerial change can always influence the opposition and trying to produce something because you want to do it. But the stats don't lie. And Oxford's stats this season, touches inside the opposition box, they're 24th. I mean, they're 20th in the league, but they're 24th in touch inside the opposition box. So they're not creating a lot of chances now. If you're not creating a lot of chances, you're not going to get goals. So they're really relying on the defensive. They're having a good defensive unit. Well, 4 clean sheets this season only doesn't suggest that. So Daniel Farke and the lads like Joe Peru and everybody that's in that attacking third, they know this is a huge opportunity for chances, but goals.
Yeah, you talk about Joel Peru, of course, gets the nod today. Matej Joseph came on and was influential in that goal. There is a snood there, but we won't hold that against him.
No,
Bridgie,
snoods are good.
Snoods are all good.
I remember when Darren Huckabee introduced snoods to the Leeds United team when we played away in Europe and Russia, and he went and bought a load of snoods for the lads. So I don't mind wearing these.
Get your snoods out for the lads. There you go. It's not a sentence I was expecting from today, but there you go. But you see, now Tanaka getting ready there. They've got to be switched on here, and Daniel Farke will make sure that they are, because as much as it is a case of, Leeds very much favourites for this, actually in some ways, to be switched on, to get a good start, effectively, if they can put this game to bed as quickly as possible, you can rest a few minutes, get some minutes in other legs and rest some players.
Control the game. I like what Tony Drago said before when we listened to him in Bryn. He said the weather, the wind is a leveller today because it's very hard. It'll put Leeds out of their normal style of play. He used the word brave. Leeds United have got to be brave to get the ball down and believe that this wind doesn't impact them enough and keep possession, because the chances will come. And again, Aronson, a man that I'm delighted for him that he's bounced back this season and shown the Leeds fans what he can bring to this team. And he's he went away to play in the Bundesliga. He had a crack there. He's come back, and I'm pleased that he's settled in. He's got himself some goals, and a man that'll be delighted with him as well. The boss, Daniel Farke, he's put a lot of faith in giving him the opportunity to play again, and he's had to make rotations. He's had to do substitutions. Injury crisis. When we lost our midfielder and Gruev and Ampadu, well, he's found 2 diamonds in there. So he's juggled everything amazingly well.
It's nice hearing from Brendan Aronson, actually. He's in the programme this week, a Q&A, because we see them on the pitch, but we don't always hear about what they're up to in their home lives. But he's doing a bit of Lego at home, playing some Call of Duty, and he's just bought himself a new coffee machine. So he's been training himself as a barista at home.
There you go.
But on him, that game against Middlesbrough in particular, who of course were a team that came out to play football against us, which has kind of suited him, didn't he? He found those pockets, exploited those areas in that number 10 role, which was really creative, one of his best games.
Yeah, and the way that he loved, like I say, when I used to play against teams that went into a back 4 with a midfield 4 and they were tight and narrow, there's not a lot of space in between the gaps. When you're playing a team that goes expansive, the pockets of space become a lot easier for you to find, and that's why players like myself and Aronson, when you drop from the number 10, the 9 and the 10 positions, you used to love playing teams because there's a lot more space. When you're playing against the teams that sit back, there's no space in behind them because they're on the edge of their own box. So it's a lot harder to get in games, and you've got to rely on the width players then. So I think today he'll want to get on the ball. It's going to be a lot tougher for him. But if he gets in the penalty area from whip crosses in from our full-backs or wingers, he could get some joy today.
OK, well, let's hear from the Leeds United manager, Daniel Farke, who's been speaking to us ahead of this game. Yes, it is a big one. Yes, Leeds are favourites, but he says we must be wary given Oxford have had a managerial change this week.
More or less in the spirit after the last international break in November till the international break in March, the table is made. It's always the same. And obviously the festive period with many games, we have a period of overall 8 games within 29 days is of course crucial and important, and you can't probably pick up each and every point, but we want to pick up as many points as possible. And of course also in our next and last home game of the calendar year, we're pretty good in the last home games, and overall have especially also in the home games in the whole year, really good record. And of course, we also want to finish in style and want to win. Always valuable and important points. But there's also an opponent who is also desperate in order to win important points for them, and for that we have to be fully prepared. So, if I'm honest, I'm not too much in a reflection mode. I'm more like focused. I want to have this next 3 points to stabilize and improve our position further on, and for that we are highly motivated. Obviously, you try to prepare what is coming as it stands. It's more or less a bit the caretaker who will overtake. I'm not sure what will happen over the next 48 hours. You also have to be prepared for a potential new candidate, new manager who comes perhaps in and overtakes. And for that, of course, it makes it a bit more complicated to prepare the lads for it. It's then always the same. You try, obviously, because they can't change or won't change the whole squad. So you try to base a bit on what they have delivered in the last weeks and the last month, because I don't think just because there's a change in the manager position they will change everything totally, and they are completely different sides. So for that we prepare the lads more or less based on their last approaches in the games, but also to make them aware that we have to be flexible, because it could be a potential change, whatever in base formation or in general behavior, whatever they do. So it's a bit more complicated, yes.
Yeah, really big, busy, festive period. Worth bearing in mind as well, the rest of the top 6, there's a few games where they play each other. So points are going to be dropped around here. Leeds have 4 games in this festive period over the next 2 weeks. What's a good return, Bridgie, in those 4 games?
The 4 games, what you're looking at, two home wins. There's just 6 points, and I'll take, you want to hopefully win one of them 2 away games, so there's your 9, and I'd take a draw. So I'm being a little bit greedy here. I'm saying 10 would be, 12 is obviously a max. I'd take 10, but I'd, 2 wins, 3 wins. Give us 9 points out of 12.
It's a shame that they're on the pitch of the player there, because watching your face as you were doing the maths was brilliant.
Yeah.
If you can't be greedy around Christmas time, there's no time when you can. And just very quickly, from a point of view, from the players' point of view, everyone's out celebrating as we do with the players. It's head down for the players.
Yeah, do you know what it is? I used to always look at the fixture list when I was a player to see who we had on Christmas, Boxing Day. Did we have a home fixture? Did we have an away fixture? I used to love it when you got a home fixture, because you knew you'd be with your family on that day. On Christmas Day, you had to really look after yourself. You couldn't overindulge like I'm doing these days. I love it. But you had to be, spot on. But you knew, you trained Christmas Day morning, get back with your family in the afternoon, and then the home game. I didn't mind being in the away games at New Year, on New Year's Day, because you were in hotels, there was parties going on. You could just keep yourself in your room, keep yourself, and watch everybody else making a fool of themselves. Christmas Day, obviously, was the one I used to look forward to.
Okay, let's go back to 2012. 2012, Sam Byram scored against Oxford. The last time we played Oxford in a competitive game was a League Cup in 2012. Sam Byram scored with an absolute beauty of a chip of a goal. He scored a scissor kick.
He better get another one.
He scored a scissor kick. But that's amazing, just the fact that Sam Byram scored in that goal. That was his first goal for Leeds back in 2012 against today's opponents.
He's gone full circle.
And back here again. But he's been great, hasn't he?
I was just about to say, Rich, we've got to give him massive credit. Big question marks. Had a lot of fans, and there was a lot of forums saying about, he's injury prone. He's this. I've been through that myself, and it's nothing worse than having a tag like that, because you've got to feel like you're always getting. You're under pressure, you're getting scrutinised. He's been absolutely magnificent. He gets a bit of stick off the lads for being Daniel Farke's pet, or son as they call him, but he has been absolutely magnificent, whether he's been starting, whether he's been coming on the bench, whether it's been to do with the social media side of things, or the promotional side of that. You see, for the players off the field, he's just a general all-round lovely guy that can play football, and he's been magnificent this season for Leeds United. And last, I love him.
Well, the Santa hats are out and ready in the ground. I guess as players, when you walk through that tunnel, it's a special one, the last one before Christmas as well. They'll be wary of that. How's this game going to go, bearing in mind that if Leeds win, you're in this beautiful sleeveless tank top?
I don't mind getting my guns out. I wouldn't mind seeing Daniel Farke's guns in there, because his arms get bigger every week. But you can just tell there by the, look at the wind blowing on the things. on the sprinklers there. I'm saying that the win's going to play an impact in the game, but I'm very confident. I'm going to go out and say we're going to win this game 3 or 4-0.
Okay, let's hope so. That'll be a good start to this Christmas festive period. Let's head up to the gantry where hopefully there's thermals and maybe a flask of Bovril. It's nippy out there. It's blustery. Your commentary team for today's Leeds United against Oxford is Bryn Law and Tony DeRigo.
Season's greetings, everybody. We round off 2024 as far as home fixtures are concerned with a game against Oxford United. And as the two teams prepare to take their place on the park, there is an expectation around Elland Road that Leeds could finish this year with something of a flourish against a side that has really struggled on its travels, having got back up to championship level for the first time in a long time. But the championship often throws up unexpected challenges, and the away side could yet provide one of those, particularly, as has just been discussed, because they're coming in with new leadership to this game, poor recent form,